This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
One. Say, Rudy don't fear no boy. Rudy don't fear. Rougher than rough. Tougher than tough. Strong like a lion because we are iron. Rudy don't fear no boy. Hello, everybody out there in social media world. This is Dr. Negus Imhotep coming to you again with another episode of Babylon Makes the Rules. First and foremost, before I go on, I would like to acknowledge our sponsors, Infinite Resources, and also AmplifiedDSM.com. You can find it on the internet. I want to give a shout out to all the brothers and sisters around the planet and tell them to keep your heads up in the midst of all of what's going on. For a topic today, with all the calamity going on in the world right now, I chose the topic from one of my famous dub poets, the late, the great Gil Scott-Heron. He had one song called Home is Where the Hatred Is. Ooh, home is where the hatred is. I had to think about what was going on, and this particular song had these lyrics. A junkie walking through the twilight. I'm on my way home. I left 3 days ago, but no one seems to know I'm gone. Home is where the hatred is. Home is filled with pain, and it might not be such a bad idea if I never went home again. Stand as far away from me as you can and ask me why. Hang on to your rosary beads. Close your eyes to watch me die. You keep saying kick it, quit it, kick it, quit it, God. But did you ever try to turn your sick soul inside out so that the world can catch and watch you die? Home is where I live, inside of my white powder dream. Home was once an empty vacuum that filled now with my silent screams. Home is where the needle marks try to heal my broken heart, and it might not be such a bad idea if I never went home again. Home again, home again, home again. Kick it, quit it, kick it, quit it. Kick it, quit it, kick it, quit it. Home again, home again. You know I can't go home again. Gil Scott-Heron. Looking at and recanting and going back, not recanting, but revising and reviewing that old song fills my heart with acknowledgement. Because home is where the hatred is. Looking at the travesties that are in the world right now, We see war in Israel and Palestine. We see war in Ukraine and Russia. There's wars going on all over this planet. But we see right now, nations are choosing sides. Not just nations, but groups, leaders of nations are choosing sides. Yet the people have to suffer from what political leadership says is right or wrong. Looking at what happened in the land that is called Israel today, we noticed that World War II ended in 1945. That's what they claim. 3 years later, after the Marshall Plan was created to refurbish Western Europe, there were Ashkenazi Jews that still lived in Germany that needed a place to reside. So the United States government and Britain went with military powers and resources to go into the land what was once called Palestine. In the Bible, they called it Canaan. In 1948, the United States government, as well as Britain, went into that particular region of the world and with military power pushed people out of their homes. And I'm inclined to believe from 1948 right now to 2023, it should be about 75 years, a group of people who live in the Gaza Strip, who was closer to almost being the indigenous people that lived there, was driven out of their homes. The American government tells us that we support Israel, and we also hear that the American government states that they want to erase Hamas. Hamas is a political group that leads that Palestinian government. Yet the people who are living there have to suffer because of political views. We look and we see what's going on. Folks in the media, the conservative views will try to tell you that there's not that many being killed. The more liberal views are going to tell you that there's more and more people that are dying by the second because of air raids and bombs coming in on a group of people who are already oppressed, who are already going through problems. I was watching the PBS news station the other night, and there was a debate between two different academians speaking about the issue with Israel, the people of the nation of Israel, and about the people in Palestine. But one individual caught my attention more than anything. One individual who happened to be, I'm inclined to believe, was from Duke University, an economist and an international relations expert, stated that in present-day Israel, the median income for any individual living in Israel is $55,000 a year. And the Palestinian counterpart, median income, is $1,000 a year. real hard to function in a capitalist system without capital. We see these people trying to keep their dignity, trying to stand up for what they believe, and they're dying by the droves. What we need to come to understand is that if we don't watch out, the genocide of a group of people is about to occur. It's going on right now. Because when we look at it, there are stages of genocide. And I'm going to go through some of them. There are 10 different stages. The first stage is classification. You classify a group of people in a particular way to demean them, to make them less than. It happened in Germany during WW2. It happened at the Khmer Rouge in 1974 through 1977. It happened to Rwanda in 1994, where over 500,000 people were killed because of ethnic cleansing. Classify a people that you don't like and separate them. The second tenet of genocide is symbolization. For instance, in WW2, if anybody was a Jew and they was in occupied German territory, they used to have to wear a yellow Mogen Dayud or 6-point star on their sleeves so everybody know that they were Jews. In Rwanda, the Hutu called the Tutsis rats or roaches, symbolizing people. Stages of genocide. The third determinant is discrimination. When you take the human and civil rights away from people, deny them their rights, you're setting them up for genocide. See, genocide doesn't happen just overnight like this. It's a plan that's been devised to attack a particular group of people until you get rid of them. And discrimination plays a part in that. The fourth component is dehumanization. Here in the United States, before it was even called the United States, this government said that blacks was 3/5 of a human being. Somebody looks like me in that time was considered livestock, not a thinking human. So we're going to dehumanize them and make them less or subhuman. That's what is happening right now. And then the fifth determinant is organization. People organize, or groups organize to set their plan and put it into action. They sit behind closed doors and use a strategy, and after they've obtained the strategy that they plan, they implement it and organize to push their agenda. The sixth determinant is polarization. You're going to polarize people. Here in the United States, We had federally sanctioned de jure segregation, where people were put in certain communities behind their ethnic makeup. Some of you know the term, they call it redlining. Redlining still is in effect right now in this country. Even after others have seen and members of the legislatures have seen that is wrong, but nobody's attempting to change too much anything. I'm going to tell you this. I looked at an article just the other day. A young black family living in eastern Kentucky in a little town. A young black man and his wife, well-to-do, both of them business professionals, had a home built for them from the ground up. They looked at the plan. They talked to the architects. They got a construction company to come in and build the house, and the house was right at the point where it was almost ready to be open. And this young black man and his wife went to their new home, and they pulled into the neighborhood. And the first thing that happened when they pulled in the parking lot, the neighbors came out to see what are these black people doing in this neighborhood. The young man went to the door. He had the key to the house and unlocked the door. Him and his wife went in to survey the house, to go around and look and see what's going on. On their way out, a next door neighbor who was peeking through the curtains came right across the street and hollered at him, "What the hell are y'all doing here?" The man said, "This is my house. He said, "Don't you go nowhere. I called the police. Because somebody like you don't have no daggone business living next to me." Home is where the hatred is. In the words of Childish Gambino, he called it, "Ain't that America?" Home is where the hatred is. When people speak of love, I really wonder, do they really know what they're saying? They polarize you. They put you in ghettos. As a matter of fact, so often when people hear the term ghetto, they automatically equate ghetto with black. But ghetto is a term that was used from World War II when they put Jews in certain segments of town, and they called that the ghetto. There's some preparation going on. That's the seventh component of genocide. We see right now what's going on in Israel. Hostages are still, quote unquote, might be alive, might not be alive, are in the Gaza area on the other side, not just Gaza, but the other side of Israel, where the poor people live, the Palestinians live. And now the military is preparing to go into this area and go with a ground war. I see the preparation going on. And I know the Palestinians do too, because they're right in the midst of it. And whenever these group of people come in there, it's going to be some shock and awe. It's going to be a bloodbath because it's already going on. They're preparing for World War III. Another stage or component of genocide is persecution. Those who don't have the power of the bullet or the money will be persecuted. That's why I had to tell my wife, I said, baby, turn some of that off, what you're seeing on TV. Because it's instilling that into your psyche by watching and seeing people carrying little babies dead in blankets. Little babies. Little boys, little girls, old folks just being massacred. The ninth determinant of genocide is extermination. I hear these political leaders who attempting to run for president of the United States. I heard old Timmy Scott. We're going to erase them from the face of the earth. What if somebody want to come in and erase us from the face of the earth? Where's that Christian love you said you have in your heart? And you remember back in the day, they used to wear that band, What Would Jesus Do? Would Jesus bomb people? Extermination is nothing new. Just like you kill your ants, rats, and roaches, that's the way they think about people. And the final stage of genocide is denial. We see that going on right now here in America. People don't want us to talk about what happened in the past. Y'all teaching that critical race theory, you're teaching hatred. How? No, I lived through terror. I know my history. I saw what happened. I was in the midst of it. But now you want to tell me that I cannot teach or tell somebody the facts or use the facts about what happened in the past. The mindset of America is centered in whiteness. And if you're white, you're right. And if you're black, get back. If you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. But this nation and this planet right now is centered on whiteness, and white supremacy racism is the main cause for many of the travesties that's going on this planet right now. And I don't give a damn if I offend nobody right now. People are dying left and right. And we're sitting back home ready to eat some nachos and watch a damn football game. America, you better wake up. The day of reckoning is coming. They label four nations as the axis of evil. Russia, China, Korea, and Iran. Or Iran. Excuse me. It's not Iran. It's Iran. Those nations have been in existence for thousands of years. And people, if you don't understand, nations rise and they fall. And America is just a baby nation, 247 years old. But America, are we going to continue to try to be the police of the whole damn world? That's all they teach you here in America, is police, courts, and fire trucks. Why do I say that? After the 6 o'clock news, if you go on the three major stations, ABC, CBS, NBC, all you see is police, court, or fire trucks. Like nothing else happens in America. Looking at those stages and those determinants of genocide, I'm telling black people in America, you better wake up and smell the damn coffee. Because many of those tenets are occurring right now here in America and have been on us for over 350 plus more years. Why did I say that? A group of people that was, now there were blacks that were here, and people, I don't say blacks, there were people of African descent here in America way before Columbus crossed the ocean blue. Okay? Let's just get that straight. And the reason why the transatlantic slave trade became what it became, it was because of what happened in Spain. Why Spain? Because the Moors had control over Spain for 800 years. And in 1455, Pope Nicholas V sanctioned King Alphonse of Portugal to go into West Africa, snatch up all the black people you could, and bring them over here to the Western Hemisphere to build colonies and force them into perpetual servitude. 1455. Here we go. We look at the colonies. They talk about 1619, Plymouth Rock, and like Malcolm X said, Plymouth Rock fell on us. But 1636, it was in the colony of Maryland. It was still a colony because there was not such thing as the United States. In the colony of Maryland, it was an edict was passed that was set. That was an exclusionary edict that stated that people of African descent was never intended to have access to the amenities or the good life that was going to be created here in this new colony that later became what they call America, the United States. I'm going down the history line. I'm coming back to 1739, South Carolina Sono Rebellion. Some black men and women who got tired of getting their ass whooped, got tired of working from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. They got up to take their freedom. And the Sono Rebellion occurred. And 58 people were killed in one night. The following year, after that rebellion was squashed, the following year, in 1740, the British colonies created the South Carolina Negro Act. And in that South Carolina Negro Act, it said that That term Negro, I don't know what the hell a Negro is, but that's what they used to call us when I was a little boy. Then they call us colored. Then they call us Afro-Americans, and then we became African-Americans. But in that 1740 Negro Act, it was against the law for somebody black to learn how to read English, not knowing that we already knew how to read Arabic. We already knew how to read in our own languages that was indigenous from our birth. It was against the law for somebody of African descent to grow their own food. It was against the law for blacks to congregate without somebody white around to see. If it was more than 10 people, somebody white had to be present. If somebody of African descent wanted to travel somewhere, they had to have a permit to show somebody that they had permission to leave the plantation. And the fifth act was if an individual who happened to be of African descent got mouthy or was tired because they been working and their bodies couldn't function too well anymore, it was legal to whoop the hell out of somebody. And if they got too mouthy, kill them, because murder was legalized. And through the dehumanization of a people, they dehumanized people of African descent and said, you ain't even a human. So it's so easy to kill you. From that, it wasn't until 1863, Emancipation Proclamation, supposed to liberate and end slavery for all people of African descent in this country. 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment of the Constitution came about to try to straighten out some things to help people of African descent to move forward inside of this society. After that, during Reconstruction, there was a bank that was created called the Freedmen's Bank. And for 10 years, people of African descent put their money in that bank. 1875, the bank became insolvent. There was $57 million that was in a bank that was created for black folks, and the federal government stole the money. White bankers gave money to all the poor white folks that didn't have no land so they could buy some land. Hot damn. When will the retired slave ever get paid? Or his or her descendants? When will we get paid? From working from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. From women who were taking care of other women's children when their children was at home. Well, women even lactated babies who weren't theirs. But yet you hate me that much. We cook for you. We clean for you. We build this nation. And you feel like you don't owe? I hear so many people from the Caucasian persuasion. They come and say, oh, but it wasn't me. That was my ancestors. But you are benefiting from what your ancestors did for you. My family didn't have wealth to hand down to any of their offspring. Just last week, I was talking about the wealth gap. For every $1 of wealth that a white family has, their black counterpart has 10 cents. They said the median for a white family's wealth was $117,000 in this country. For a black family, the median wealth is $1,700. Why is that? Because somebody else made somebody rich, and they handed their wealth down from generation to generation to generation. And then you hear some of these people, I don't know why they're over there arguing and talking that mess. All they have to do is grab themselves by their bootstraps and come on and get up and do it the great American way. You know, y'all need to come off that bullshit. That's straight bullshit. You know when you're welcomed and you know when you're not. Ain't that America? Hatred is where the home is. I'll talk about hatred, but I still say I love this place because I was born here. I was raised here. My grandparents and great-grandparents raced out of the South to get here, to get away, thought that it was getting away from Jim Crow. My grandfather moved here in 1910. Left St. Helena Parish, Louisiana, was sharecropping, chopping sugar cane down in Louisiana to come up here, and he came to Marshalltown. My grandmother's side of the family came out of Alabama, down there picking cotton, thinking that they was getting away from Jim Crow to come up here to Iowa. But they came to find out that Jim Crow didn't only live in the South. He lived in the West, he lived in the East, and he lived in the North. In the words of the late Malcolm X, he stated, long as you are south of the Canadian border, your ass is south. We see the tension, the racial tension in this country. It's always there. And we always had to deal with individuals who felt that they're superior. And to tell the truth, if I had somebody in bondage or had somebody subjected under me for over 350, 400 years, I would feel that I'm superior myself. But you're not. You might have wealth, but you can't take my soul. Hatred is where the heart is. Hatred is right here in America. A home that I was born in, America. One of these days, like I said, America, the day of reckoning is coming. So, my words to you. Babylon makes the rules. But in a minute, Babylon gonna fall right on its ass. This is Dr. Negus Imhotep signing off.
This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.